Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at midnight Eastern. It's 9 Pacific for about an hour each night. We'll do 3 gun-related topics, different topics throughout the week, and we run it live on YouTube. We'll simulcast it over at gunchannels.com and occasionally other places. Where we're watching the comments from the people that are watching the show live. It's a big part of the show is the conversation with the audience, so we appreciate everybody that shows up and watches us live. We'll take the show and let it render into a video. We'll take the audio and put it over on iTunes. So we appreciate everybody that listens to the show afterwards as well, especially those that take the time to leave us some feedback, subscribe to our channels out there, and leave comments. All those things let us know that you're out there as human beings. We appreciate it. But as far as the internet's concerned, that helps the videos get recommended to more listeners and viewers. And that's one of our goals. So we do really appreciate it when people do that for us. We got hosts. We got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining. And
hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
And then we got Jimmy jumping in from the Phoenix.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks.
I'm down here in Tucson, and we're on the wind down, episode 497. It's Tuesday, so we'll be talking about Second Amendment today. Is there anything we want to talk about before we dig in?
I don't want to talk about it. I go into it, but I kind of started to watch the State of the Union thing. I don't know if anybody else caught that tonight.
No, I was in a chat. Totally forgot about it. How was it?
So far so good. I came home and kind of like BS'd a little bit and then started watching it a little while ago. So I really didn't watch that much. I'm only like 15 minutes in, a few minutes in. And it's a live stream. It was an old live stream that's on repeat. So I didn't even get to Trump yet. So couldn't really tell you. But I am looking forward to it.
It was nice of him to warm up the evening for us. So thanks to him for doing our warm-up show.
Well, really, I mean, there's people asking about Washington bump stock ban news. Did they ban the bump stock in Washington? And if they did, well, surprise.
Well, we did last Thursday, yep, while we were at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything new, but I haven't been watching, so I haven't heard anything new. Has something new developed that you guys heard of?
Just more bullshit. Government taking away your rights because they can get away with it because some tragedy happened.
I'm just waiting to see what the rest of those bills, what ends up happening with them, or if they're going to get squashed or what happens.
All right, so we'll dig into the Second Amendment issues. And today it's going to be February Every Second Matters. So Bob's pretty discouraged over there, but we got coming up on Friday. So I figured we might as well plan a little bit ahead. And we didn't have any other topics this week. So what do we want to do for E2M this week, this month? Second one of the year.
It's the second of the second, man.
Well, that's a good point. 2-2. Oh,
22.
You write all these down. Hold on. Let me grab a pen here. Write all these down.
And what about 222? Right? It's the Second Amendment meeting about the Second Amendment. No, I guess that doesn't really work.
It's funny you bring that up. We just had our 222nd show this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right on.
Interesting. But yeah, I was curious, and every time I bring it up, I always, there's nothing really we could do or nothing like that. But how do we support other states or help our voices be heard in other states where they're not really getting together themselves? Or maybe their voices aren't being heard or something like that, I was always curious about that, because just sitting back and kind of enjoying our freedoms. I mean, I know that Arizona, the state of Arizona, has its own bills that may or may not be going through, or all this later on. But I don't know, kind of feels messed up sitting here and enjoying my rights and watching everybody else kind of get screwed over.
But at the same time, it's like, get used to it and do what you can to protect what you got, because they're coming for us, and if they can only take us one little bite at a time, that's what they're going to do. I mean,
oh yeah, we're seeing some of the turnouts in some of those anti-gun states, and the pro-gun people, and some of those turnouts were super weak. Like, yeah, they were very disappointing.
So
I do hear you on that.
Fight them. I mean, we no longer have the natural affinity that people had with guns back in the 50s, where it was like, well, of course you want to have your guns. Don't be stupid. Right? Whereas nowadays it's like, why do we need them? The police will come.
Well, right, but I mean, even in those kind of states, right? Like,
the world's gotten so safe that no one thinks that they have to defend themselves. That's part of the problem, is we have designed a society that is so safe that people no longer believe in self-defense. It's horrible.
Well, and I hear you, but I mean, even just those states, I mean, maybe like just examples like California, maybe Californians and New Yorkers and people in Illinois and all that, maybe they're apathetic towards the fight or whatever, but I mean, the states are still a part of the United States. That's what I'm saying. If there's any part that people in other states can play in this, I don't know.
Oh, no, I agree with you that that's something that, we can work towards, but at the same time, I think I hate to be, a downer, but I almost think it's hopeless. I mean, it seems to be the way that humanity is going, is that the safer we get, the less people think that they need to defend themselves. And it's part of the problem. It's happening in Canada. I mean, it's happening in America. And you guys had one of the...
What's happening in America?
It is. They're taking your gun rights away. Right at a time, man.
Whatever.
Canadians, you're not going to have guns anymore. Oh, I'm telling you. It's a horrible, terrible...
Bob's real happy about everything, so no, that's not the way it... And that's one way to look at it, I guess, but... No.
I'm sorry. I'm being Debbie Downer.
Well, no, I mean, and I understand too, because I mean, the way that everything is kind of running right now, it's easy to fall into and have a pessimistic attitude. I do too, a lot of the times.
You've got the most pro-gun president you've had in what, 50 years? The man actually had a carry permit.
Exactly. And now look at all that. We have the House, and we have the Senate, and
right.
and
yet nothing. I mean, this is the president that loves to troll.
Yeah, you're right. We had the Nevada thing, the thing in Vegas. Nothing happened because of it. We had something happen in Sandy Hook, and we had 23 things almost immediately. Within weeks, we had imminent threat to the Second Amendment. Right. So, yeah, nothing happened, Bob. You're right. So if you want to look at that as a negative, then you're welcome to. But I'm here to suggest that that's not a negative. That the fact that we're not in peril, that the Second Amendment was not at risk, shows us that we're in an environment that isn't what you are suggesting, that everything is dire and it's all about to end and everything's about to fail. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's not necessarily that bad, but I mean, there are a number of states that are folding under the pressure. I mean, that...
No. I don't know. There are never going to be positives all the time. What kind of delusional state do you live in where we all...
Shouldn't this be the time that it's the most positive? Should not Trump be purposefully, because he loves to troll the Democrats, shouldn't he purposely be pushing the silence law, pushing all kinds of gun laws? That'll make the Democrats nuts, right? And that's kind of what he likes to do. So... And it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't hurt America. It doesn't hurt gun owners in general, but I mean, it doesn't hurt you guys. It doesn't hurt America.
I didn't vote for Trump.
Like right back
for me. I don't think too many gun owners' rights groups expected Trump to be our advocate. So no, I don't give the president any power, no matter what the president is, over that kind of decision making. The president is simply a figurehead who does, is in charge of the executive branch, and they, do their jobs or whatever. But no, their job isn't to do stuff for us. Our task is always to do it from the bottom up. So that hasn't changed.
Oh yeah.
The person that's in office, and I would not want to live in a country, and luckily we don't live in a country where everything does change as soon as somebody comes into that particular position. So that's unrealistic to expect the president to do stuff like that. In fact, we would live under tyranny if the president could just do things like that. That's why Obama couldn't just do what he felt like when he wanted to. So again, you can look pessimistically at you, but
like I understand he infringed a whole lot, and yet Trump were like, "Oh, he isn't doing anything bad for us, so it's good." Like, really?
No, not really. You're taking it out of context and you're summarizing it incorrectly. So no, there's nothing that we agree on there.
Yeah, that part I'm gonna have to disagree on too, because I mean Trump, he's not, the president is not a superhero. He's pretty much a talking head.
Yes, superhero. Mr. Trump is a superhero. He can fly, probably.
Yeah.
It sounds like we could probably talk about the Washington stuff. So hopefully somebody that's aware of what's going on in Washington can do something and prepare something perhaps, and take that part of the show. We got stuff happening in California. Like you said, there's stuff happening in Arizona. All the Congresses and the Houses and state level and federal level are all back and doing their thing. So there's probably a bit of State of the Union or whatever you want to call it, like state of guns, to figure out what's going on this year. I guess there's some effort to be made towards talking to or finding out what the gun owners' rights groups are up to. I know they probably have different opinions on how HR 38 or whatever it's called as it goes into the Senate, how to deal with that strategy. We're going to be waiting for results on the ATF survey and seeing what the results are there, if it goes forward and we have more effort, or we can see what the results of our efforts we've already put forward. It'd be interesting to see the results there too, because the anti-gunners would have been using that survey as a way to try to move their position as well. So it'll be interesting to see those results. And I don't know if anybody's been looking to see if there's any ETA on when those results are coming due, or if they can estimate that yet. All right, well, so that's dead air. So I guess we'll move on. So then that was the Second Amendment issue today, or I guess this one, and then we'll be moving into the next subject, which is the $1,000 dinner we had in Vegas. And before we do, we'd like to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels each day. So Bob will feature that one today.
I'm going to feature what? Your $1,000 dinner? That's disgusting. I don't want to feature your $1,000 dinner. I think you guys are just terrible. You should have just got the meat. Don't worry about anything else. Just say, just bring me the meat.
All right, thanks. I was going to ask you to feature Never Enough Ammo, but maybe Jimmy can do it.
Sorry, I didn't catch that part. I must not have been listening. That might be possible.
So yeah, Matt, I think he's been around since probably the beginning, hasn't he? Or before the beginning of Gun Channels, ain't it?
Yeah.
He was running his own podcast and doing stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, he's real consistent with his stuff. And then he's even added more in the past year or two, ain't it? He's doing up to 3 podcasts and 4 podcasts a week, something like that.
No, yeah, 2 for sure, and then sometimes 3, or then he jumps into others for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's definitely great for Gun Channels.
Yeah, I like Matt. He's a great prequel to our show. Number 1. Number 2 is he's just a nice guy. I wish I'd actually got to meet him. I should have drove that extra 200 miles, but it was like I was afraid my truck would melt. Kind of did in the way back, but yeah, it's he's a good guy, and I really appreciate him being on gun channels and everything, even if he is kind of greedy and doesn't send all his subs over to me. But you know, that's Matt. He's from Texas.
I think it's neat to have been watching Matt over the years too, just to see how he's, you know, changed as a channel and the directions he's taken, and you know, as his interest change and as he's built a library. You know, it's always different once you start a channel out and you've got a bunch of goals to accomplish, and then once you've accomplished them, and then set yourself new goals and accomplish those, and then set new ones. You know, if it's for the year or if it's for this, you know, half a year or whatever it might be. And it's just neat to see, you know, somebody who's been doing it over and over and over and consistently working at it. Just interesting to see Matt is one of the few that's, like I say, just, I mean, he hasn't missed a week. So unlike some channels that'll come and go and kind of, you know, do their thing for a while and then be gone and then come back and that kind of thing, Matt's just consistently been doing it. So it's neat to, you know, have that consistency, I guess, out there in the community.
Yeah, plus all kidding aside, he is a really nice guy.
Yeah, definitely. And it was cool too when we had that VidMe and everybody was all uploading their old videos. That was cool because I got to see some of his older stuff like 9 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, back when he kind of had hair.
I remember when he first got his tongue pierced, and he was like on a chat, and he was it was hilarious. We were all like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" That was funny.
All right, so I guess now we can dig into the wild card topic today, and that's going to be the $1,000 dinner up there. So we're going to have a chat eventually with everybody who went to the dinner, but I figured we'd chat about it a little bit on this show, just like practice talking about it again. And it was a neat place, so I wanted to thank again Chef Steve Young, I think his name was, for such an interesting adventure. So I'm dragging up my
you know, I'm really pissed off. I missed that because, you know, I love meat.
I know you like meat.
Steak. I love to eat. And they even had like steak tartare, and I've only had that once, and I was a little kid, and I was kind of like, this is really good. And then they went, it's raw beef, and I went, eh. So now I want to try it again when I'm an adult and won't go, eh.
Now, did this joint have, just real quick to break in before you start, did this joint have like vegan options or vegetarian options, or was it just like whatever salad or whatever?
No. So they didn't have anything really. You probably could have ordered something, I'm sure. They would probably have been amenable or whatever, you know, make something. But no, not normally. So we went to this place, and you have to have reservations. So this is a restaurant that's in the what they call the Westgate. It's the Hilton that had the Elvis's Hilton. It was the Hilton that Elvis did his shows in back in the day. And it used to be a Hilton, and now it's the Westgate. And it's also the place where the anti-gun show happens for the last couple of years. So we've been walking past this fancy steakhouse that's in the I guess the hotel before you get to the convention area where they have the gun show. So we've seen it for the last couple of years, and I think Marco saw it, and he's all into whatever fancy, expensive beef and aged beef and all that. So I think he'd been eyeballing it. So when we were trying to decide some place to eat with Yankee the other night at Chacho, this place came up, and Pink and them made reservations, and that's why I missed the show that day, because they did, you know, we had to take reservations when they had them, and they had them for right when the show was starting, basically. I think we talked about that a little bit already, but Marco talked to the girls that do the reservations and stuff, and they were impressed by his Instagram numbers. So they introduced him to the chef, and he was also impressed. So they gave us the whole spread. So it was really fun getting so much attention from the chef. And then because we were going to be taking pictures, he sent out a bunch of extra stuff that we didn't even order from the menu, and maybe a couple of things even off the menu. So it was just really neat to, again, get such attention from the chef, and then, you know, just 100% attention from the wait staff and everything. It was just made it a really neat adventure, I guess. So we started out with some kind of booze, Marco and Pink, and then when we do the thing, they'll be able to tell you what it was. But obviously with Marco, some kind of fancy, I don't know, he drinks bourbon or whiskey or something.
Them $50 shots in it.
Well, it was like a $40 shot, yeah. So we started out with that. All tasted that, and then they had sent out a bunch of appetizers. So it started out with that cheese thing. And these are shitty pictures, but a bunch of nuts and fruits and things that you'd get on a fancy cheese plate. This is that tartare that Bob was talking about. I think I have a better picture of it. It's some kind of toast that they cost money. Like they put all kinds of beef juices into that toast. I didn't eat it. And then these were oysters with pork. Never heard of such a thing, but
Yeah.
So that's that tartare. So this is that Kobe beef, except when you make it in the United States, they have to call it wasago, I think, or something like that. Sagi or something. So it's some kind of fancy beef that is raw, like Bob was saying. It's basically a hamburger patty. They just crack an egg over it, and it's sort of like a meatloaf or something before you cook it. And they squirted some kind of white stuff on it, and then there's radishes in there. And I think normally they'd have like a raw egg on top, but he used caviar instead. So that was kind of neat. And mostly Thumbs and Marco ate that.
Really? Thumbs ate that?
Oh, he ate the shit out of most of those hors d'oeuvres, yeah.
Oh,
And then their menu is like whatever, beaten copper, which is kind of neat. And it's Edge. You would think that Edge would have told us about this and gave us like.
well, yeah, I know. But Edge, you know what? Edge is probably thinking, I'm not going to comp them meals. Like, fuck, that'll cost me money.
Yeah, exactly. He was doing it for the money. So we took the opportunity to get a Gun Channels meetup picture like we like to do. This was Marco's idea a long time ago to, whenever we meet up, to do the Gun Channels patches. So sort of our version of the challenge coin. And well, with this one, this fancy meal, this is like 2 times that the meetups ended up going to someplace fancy that we ended up talking to the chef or the owner of the restaurant. When we met up in Tulsa, P226 Nut took us to an Italian place. It was pretty nice. And the owner, I think, of the restaurant came out and made sure we were all happy. So that's kind of cool. So I don't know what else to say. I guess they all ate some kind of fancy steaks, and whenever we have our actual meetup with them, we all get back together and they can tell you what they actually ate. But then again, because we were taking pictures and because these guys are boring and they all ordered mashed potatoes, the chef sent out basically all the other side dishes as well. And that's how it added up to $1,000. When you go to a fancy restaurant, you're talking $60 to $85 for each steak, and then $14 for each side of mashed potatoes, and then probably another $14 or $20 for each other side. All those appetizers were probably way over $100, and then the drinks and stuff. By the time you get to a tip, talking well over $1,000. So pretty neat experience. Something we haven't done before at SHOT Show, and looking forward to trying something like that in the future again. Maybe not quite as
Who
fancy.
paid for that? Like, nobody? That was comp?
What?
Like, did anybody pay for that, or was that comp?
That's what I was just gonna say. So he brought you out entrees and extra stuff that you guys didn't want, and then charged you for it.
No, all that stuff was free. They
Oh,
ended up
okay.
probably about 400 something. I don't really know, because all I got was a salad, and that was $14. Yankee bought that, so I don't really know, but I think it was something like $400 by the time they actually bought the stuff they bought, and all the rest of the stuff was comped or free, and then we got a discount on top of everything. So I'm just saying that without the discount, and if we would have paid for everything, it would have been $1,000. But yeah, I think they paid, I don't know, probably a little over $100 each for their meals, and everybody was satisfied. Everybody was
That's not bad. And that's the thing, is they would have got that same meal, but they wouldn't have got all those appetizers and stuff. So
Oh, we wouldn't have had the place fawning off over us, I don't think.
yeah, that's what I mean. But you still would have got a good meal for $100 each, which in a good steakhouse, yeah, that's okay. But
I mean,
yeah,
some of
get all that
you're
extra.
going to Vegas and hanging out with everybody and just having a fun time. Some of that the living life, right? So sure, you could have bought that steak at a carnicerita or whatever, and then made it on the barbecue, and yeah, you could have done it for way cheaper. We could have made them.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's really cool that you got that. Everybody, even though they did, like, people did pay for their meal, they even if they had just got the meal, they would have been satisfied, right? So the fact that they got all this extra stuff, that's bonus, right? Like, it was still a good meal to start with, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. It was worth $100 a piece for a good steak in a good steakhouse. And then you guys got all this extra service because of the, you know, the Instagram interest. So that's cool.
I don't know, $100 a plate. I would have definitely found a hair in it or something.
Oh, not man. I don't have a problem with paying that. I've been to steakhouses and paid that much for a good steak and stuff. But I've had like good fucking steaks. Prime rib and shit. Oh.
Is that a fingernail?
Prime rib. Oh. I found a moth in my salad one time. And then the waiter tried to say, "Oh, it fell out of the lamp." And I'm like, "No, because it wouldn't have been underneath all the lettuce on the bottom of the plate." Right? Like, I didn't find this moth till I was halfway through the salad. And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Well, it fell off the lamp. I'm like, no, it didn't. It was under all this salad. If it did, it crawled into the salad to die. Really?
All right. Well, that's one way to end a story about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was terrible because, of course, I've walked past that steakhouse many times and I've wanted, because they got steak hanging in the window. They got haunches of beef hanging in the window. They're all like leathery looking, just like, oh, that's going to be so tender.
Right. Those are the aged.
But it didn't cost $1,000.
They prepare the meat by aging it. So they take like a side of whatever it is, New York strip, I guess, or else ribeye, and then before they're cut, when they're just chunks of meat of the cow,
and the back legs of the cow.
So they'll salt them up and then put them in that kind of glass windowed refrigerator room that Bob is talking about that you see from the hallway as you're walking past the restaurant. And the chef took us in there and gave us an explanation of how they some of the techniques and some of the ways that they'll kind of monitor, I guess, the process and then rotate the different pieces of meat through that process. And again, I've explained it like it's like barbecue or something. Everybody's, they're doing the same thing, but they're all doing it their own way. So his preferred way is to go to 45 days on a cycle that, the meat comes in and 45 days later it's coming out. And it's just interesting to see how, again, people are interested in eating different ways. And I guess the idea is that when you let the stuff sit in that environment, the enzymes start to eat the meat fibers or something and tenderize it. So you get a unique flavor that develops over those 45 days. So yeah, we'll be posting a video on it. And like I said, we'll get everybody who was at the dinner together and we'll do like a live chat. And I think everybody will have a good time because as fun as it was experiencing it. I think hopefully it'll be worth it for the chef and the restaurant to say thanks again, to address it again. But also, just experiencing it was fun. But we all spent significant resources on that, spending money there and just spending our time there at SHOT Show. And I think we need to just revisit it and just carry on some of those conversations we had that night.
Oh, for sure. I think that's an excellent idea. I'm really pissed off I missed this year.
I can definitely assure you it would have been a whole different dinner if Bob would have been there and if Jimmy would have been there. So next year we'll see what we can do. All right, so with that, I guess we'll move into the next segment of the show, which will be the state of the state. We're talking about Kansas. We're going through the list of states as we did through the Gunshot Loophole Tour. And after Oklahoma and, well, I guess after Texas, came back up to Oklahoma, went to the Cowboy Museum and I guess that's all I went to, and then went north towards the Dodge City, and that took me into Kansas. So we're going to be talking about Kansas today. All we got left is Colorado, and then we'll be looking for other ideas for the state of the states. I was going to say before we break into it, though, I want to take another break just to mention that we do have the Gear website store. It's one of the ways that we keep our show going and the various other projects we've got out there. And we do appreciate the people that purchase stuff over there. I've just added a bunch of stuff to the, or I just updated the inventory, I should say. So we had a couple of things on you've seen the store. The store is basically a big pegboard I have here. So I went through and updated the inventory. There's a couple of items that had been previously sold out that, there's one or two left. So all the inventory at this point is updated. Anybody that's been looking for a specific, one of a kind or something, or one of the last ones left, I think there's a Glocktober one. The last Glocktober one is up there. And there's a couple of the unique gun channels colors. So if anybody's interested in supporting the show and getting something back in return, something that you can take pictures of on Instagram or like we did at the table there, use for photos, then we encourage you to check out the gear website store, and we can move on to State of the State.
Now, Kansas, I always thought of Kansas as being one of those wide open states, right? Because that's where Billy the Kid was, or who the hell was from Kansas? I think it was Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid?
They definitely got moss out there.
Jesse James, right, was from Kansas. And, yeah, because the Pinkertons went and threw a bomb in the house and blew his mom's arm off and killed some little baby or something.
Well, I don't think there's any of that going on in Kansas nowadays.
If a cop knocks on the wrong door, the social justice warriors flip out. But yeah, back in those days, it was like, yeah, detective agency, we're going to throw a bomb through the window because we think he might be in there. We know his mother. Like, wow. Anyway, Kansas, what are the laws like?
I thought meh at first, but they're actually not that bad. State permit to purchase. There is none on long guns or handguns. Registration, none. Assault weapon law, no. No magazine capacity restrictions. No owner's license required. No carry permits required. You may conceal carry in public area of state and municipal buildings that encompasses carrying at public universities. Schools were allowed to opt out until 2017. Post 2017, only buildings with adequate security measures may remain gun-free. May carry concealed without permit as of July 1st, 2015. However, permits can be issued. Open carry, yes. May carry openly without permit or license, and that is for long guns and handguns. NFA weapons restrictions, none. And the Second Amendment Protection Act, that should be implemented everywhere. SBSs and machine guns must be registered under the NFA Act. However, a personal firearm, a firearm accessory, or ammunition that is owned or manufactured commercially or privately in Kansas that remains within the borders of Kansas is not subject to any federal law. A suppressor that is manufactured in Kansas that remains within the borders of Kansas are not subject to any federal law, including the NFA. Firearm manufactured in Kansas must have the words "Made in Kansas" clearly stamped on the central metallic part, such as the receiver or frame. They shall certify within 15 days. Peaceable journey laws, no federal rules are observed. And background checks required for private sales, negative. That is the state of Kansas.
Kansas is badass. I like Kansas. What's the weather like there?
No. I think it's snowy.
Oh, I don't like
cold.
Yeah.
Humid in the summer.
I know girls from Kansas are cute, though. That'd be one reason to keep me there in the winter, but you know.
You got a lot of mosquitoes out there, and I would be worried about like the Zika or something like that.
Yeah, Kansas mosquitoes. I'd be like, what mosquitoes, you know? They're not even trying to carry my beer away. What kind of mosquitoes are these? They're tiny little things. I mean, you know. Mosquitoes up here carry babies away.
All right. Let's get into, what is this now? Gun shop? Gun movie?
Gun movie. Because have I seen this one? Invasion USA. Oh, isn't that Chuck Yeager? No, Chuck
Yeager.
Yeah, it's Chuck Yeager, but he's got a beard and he's got muscles and he's big and he actually knows what he's doing. Except he's not.
I watched Invasion USA the other day. It's on Amazon, and they've got a bunch of the old ones, old 80s movies up there right now. You know, they come and go on Amazon, so you might want to check it out sooner than later. But we do try to come up with a gun-related movie, something you might not have seen in a while. And I think Invasion USA is one of the cooler ones. It was, I saw some show on Netflix a while back that talked about the production company that made a bunch of those movies. of the time, and they basically just watched a popular movie happen, and they quickly make a version of it, and that was just their thing. So I guess there was Commando and some of the other movies at the time, and they just figured, hey, let's make an action movie, and it was kind of a neat one. They basically had a town, like a little subdivision that they were going to tear down, so they got the okay to blow it all up. Then they had that mall that they got the okay to blow up. So they basically just wrote a movie about, something that could happen in a place where they could blow up a town or a little village or a little subdivision and a mall. And,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
So it's kind of a neat one. I just watched it again recently, and it doesn't really hold up, except that it is just fun to watch. They've got the craziest M203s in it, and it's one of the coolest Chuck Norris ones where he's got his the two little mini Uzis and that shoulder rig. Pretty cool. Pretty iconic.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Uzis alone would get a thumb, and then I think that I'm gonna give this one for the 80s genre. I think I'm gonna have to give this 2.
Oh no, it's got Chuck Norris. I'm gonna 2 hard thumbs up. And that guy is badass. And I love the Uzis. So yeah, 2 hard thumbs up.
Bob always gives Chuck Norris the hard thumbs.
Dude, and they'd probably still shatter. They were made of, balsa wood.
So basically, Chuck Norris don't really say. He's just some guy that the government comes to finish things, right? So
I thought he was like ex FBI or ex CIA, some type of agent or something like that.
They don't really say. It's just like the government comes to have him fix things. So they're like, fix this, like stop this invasion. So he's like, I work alone. So there's a couple awesome quotes. At one point, he's hunting down the terrorists, and he comes into this room where this terrorist is about to beat up a whore or something, and he stabs him in the hand, so he's stuck to the table, and he interrogates him for a little while. And at one point, the guys from outside, these big muscle guys, come in to push him around, and he says something to the effect of, if you come back in here, I'm going to hit you with so many rights, you're going to be begging for a left, which is an excellent quote. And then a little while after that, he does kick the guy back out of the room, and when he's leaving the guy, he his hand is already stuck to the table with a knife. He then takes the hand grenade and puts it in his other hand, pulls the pin, and he says, if you live through this, tell Rostov it's time to die. And that's always cool. And then he just walks away giving a guy a hand grenade.
It's like, okay, where can I throw it that it's not going to kill me?
Well, it's a comedy, so.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, I think it's one of the better ones, and definitely 2 thumbs up.
Damn, that is a unanimous. I don't think that's happened in a while. We got a unanimous 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, that has been a while for that. Yeah, it's a good watch. I mean, it's funny, and it's entertaining, keeps you watching. Unlike other movies where you're like, it's getting boring. I think I'll just close my eyes for a minute here, and then you wake up and the movie's over.
Go heat up some ramen.
Yeah, that's terrible. So anyway, yeah, no, I mean that's a good movie. So let's go on to the gun of the day. What is the gun of the day? What is the gun of the day? Oh my gosh, it's the Bren 10. Now, what is this gun? Bren 10? Yeah. Well, it was only made for a couple of years. It was considered at the time the most tactical handgun ever. Right? It was in the new cartridge, the 40. That was 10 millimeter, and it had more energy at 200 yards than a 45 ACP did at the muzzle. So that was a big, like, whoa, that's a gun, eh? And plus it carried 10 rounds, which kind of wimpy nowadays. But anyway, back in the day, that was cool. Had, they'd move the safety. It was basically a CZ, which is basically a Browning. So it was that, but double action, and it had a, safety moved down a little bit, so it was a little more comfortable. But good gun. But the company only lasts a couple of years. Jeff Cooper actually was the guy who was their consultant. One of the best combat handgunners in the world. So yeah, it was, should have been a good gun, but I don't know, whatever reason, it just didn't take off. I think it was the 10mm cartridge. I really believe that because, well, the 40, not the real 10mm, but the 40. So it's just like, yeah, it had a little more power, but it kicked excessively. It was a sharp recoil, not a smooth recoil like the 10mm is. Yeah, so it was just like, but cool gun. That's our gun of the day. I don't know what everybody wants to say about it.
Right on. Every day we try to feature a new gun, and that's the gun today. So let's see. Next we can move into, I guess, the gun shop of the day. Did we already do that? No. So every day we try to feature a new gun shop. It's one of the reasons we do the show on a daily basis. And today it is one in San Antonio from the tour. And if I can get my screen to capture here.
And next up on the Gun Show Loophole Tour is a place called National Outdoors and Army Surplus. So this is a surplus store in San Antonio, 95 years in business. They've been doing business since 1922. So it's a fixture in San Antonio. We saw this at the beginning of the Gun Show Loophole Tour, the big light here in 2017. We talked by San Antonio, we talked about our head, business around to a bunch of shops, and I'm sure that we checked out this surplus store as well. So we started out at the front of the store here, they just take some videos and some pictures. So we came into the front door and to the left there, and you see lots of t-shirts. Some of the neat things there is Bob will show up still, but there's t-shirts where t-shirts are displayed drunk.
You seriously have to slow down.
Pretty cool.
Or the camera's got to change or something. But yeah, that's just
wall space. Then there's lots of different camouflage shirts there as well, different types of camo turned into t-shirts. That's the first time I've seen a collection like that. Now we're kind of back towards the end of the store. That you can see it's a large store. Lots of surplus stuff. So this is a real surplus store. Lots of real surplus back there. Everything from big unit stuff to individual equipment, and then a lot of camping stuff. Lots and lots of boots, and coats, and clothing, and then lots of equipment. So decent surplus store. One last thing that was about this store is you walk in the front door, you go right. When you walk in the store and take a right, there's like a section that's like almost a museum quality stuff. There's the drums that I was talking about. So this is a neat store. I'm looking forward to using this interactive media we've got here. Give us some feedback if you've been to National Outdoors and Army Surplus in San Antonio. After 95 years, there's people out there that have been there. Give us some feedback in the comments. Stay tuned for the next gun shop. We have the Gun Show Loophole.
I like everything got the sound pretty bad in there, but I think you get an idea. It's a pretty big shop. About medium as far as surplus to new stuff, but pretty good the mix. And like I say, 90-something years, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it looks like they had, I mean, it was, I don't know, you said medium, but from the video, it looked like they had a pretty big selection, and the way they had everything kind of crammed in there too. I mean, I don't know, it looked like they had a lot of good stuff in there. Those ammo cans.
That's only because I've been to so many other surplus stores that were like
huge,
heavier with the surplus. This one,
I got you.
I'm saying it's like 50% new, like camping supplies or clothes and stuff, and then maybe 30 or 40% actual surplus. But yeah, it's a big place, so there's a lot of stuff. So even 40% surplus is still a lot more surplus than a lot of stores. So yeah. And it's the kind of cool store where the employees know where everything's at, kind of place. Oh, do you have this? So like, yeah, I ask you if you found everything. Oh, I'm looking for this, and they know exactly where it's at. So that's kind of cool that the employees have been there long enough to root it all around and found everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
And then, like I said, one of the things I thought was kind of neat that you don't see new stuff every once, very often. And if I can find this still, they display their T-shirts. Like a lot of times surplus stores will have whatever kind of T-shirts and stuff, and they displayed them on drum heads. And they must have got a bunch of drum heads somewhere, or drums probably. And I thought that was a pretty cool way to display the shirts in a different way. Thought it was screen sharing. I guess now I'll screen share what I'm talking about. All right. So anyway, National Outdoors. A lot of people say it's the best Army surplus store in San Antonio. So I'll have to take their word for it because I've only seen two, and it is definitely the coolest of the two I've been to.
Very, very cool.
So let's see. We have gun history to talk about a little bit, and I was looking through here. In 1606, Guy Fawkes is hanged, drawn, and quartered for his part in the gunpowder plot, an attempt to blow up Parliament. So everybody likes to talk about that guy. Today he got killed. Actually, he got drawn and quartered. So that doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah, killed bad.
Yeah, not a good way to go. Not a good way to go.
1915, Germans used gas on the Russians. Let's see. All kinds of stuff happened, it looks like, during wars right now. People are getting all pissed at each other. Tet Offensive began in 1968.
Oh, weird. It must be something about the time of year, right?
Probably.
Moons full, or, planets have aligned, or just miserable weather for most people.
Since you're talking about that, this is kind of a neat happenstance happening tomorrow. So I want to remind everybody today. We'll remind everybody tomorrow. But we've got a super blue blood moon.
Super blue blood moon.
Yeah,
so it'd be a triple.
Very rarely.
100 years or something. So it's kind of neat. So tomorrow there'll be a lunar eclipse for most of the world, not for us. But we will see the blood moon, meaning a partial lunar eclipse will turn it red. It'll be a supermoon, meaning it's closest to the planet, and it's a blood moon, or is it a new moon? No, it's a supermoon because it's the second. No, supermoon because it's closer, and blue moon because it's the second full moon of the month. So it'll be kind of neat. It'll be the closest full moon, and for some of the planets, the eclipse.
Plus there'll be a partial eclipse blood moon. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting. But it's like at 5 in the morning here. So it's like, I don't know, I guess I could just stay up for an extra hour or two.
So they say to look at it basically when we're doing the show tomorrow. So we'll remind everybody again tomorrow, but that might be the kind of thing to wake a kid up and experience, science.
Yeah, and something they're only going to see, once in their lifetime, more than likely. Twice if they're lucky.
I think we've wrapped pretty much all of it up.
We were forgetting one thing.
I don't think we're forgetting anything.
You like that? You guys know what that means. Time to crack them knuckles, whip out them keyboards, get ready for the daily tactical pop quiz. Today's going to be a quick one, and it's kind of apropos, considering that we had that's a big word, since we had the State of the Union today. So, a while back, Trump was having an interview, and they asked him what was his concealed carry pistol, if he concealed carried. Now, he was vague, but he did give the name, brand, and the caliber. So what is Trump's CCP? Just the name and the caliber, because that's all I could find. Not 42. Midnight got it. Hold on. Let me check the timestamp. Yep, Midnight got it. So
that didn't take long.
Yeah. Didn't take long.
Food Travis hot dog sandwiched his way in there. Yeah. It was 38 Special Smith & Wesson.
So Midnight Range. Seriously? He actually got a... Wow.
Yeah.
All right, midnight range. I guess means I lost the pool. I guess that makes you the tactical hot shot of the day.
I just like to throw out the PSA to gun channels. That's what you guys get when you get cocky and you want to mess around. You know, you lose the
And
YouTubers.
that's why we can't.
No kidding, right? How bad is that, right? They've got every advantage, and yet they still lose.
That's also why we can't easily edit the sound on this podcast. We have a crazy
Yeah.
keep editing in.
Bob throws everything off.
I didn't start that. That was started by you know who.
Dano, he's taking credit for everything we've done on the show, it seems like.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't know that.
He's trying to basically maneuver us into some kind of like copywriting, trademark, and everything.
Oh, yeah. I know. That's just Dano, though.
It's a legal power move, but it's okay.
Yeah.
He's trying to trump us.
He's trying to trump us. Yeah. That's okay, because it's coming from Dano, so we know it's coming from love. It's just a really twisted, dirty kind of love.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's wrap this up at that point.
All right. We got some stuff tomorrow. So early watch will be coming on again around 9:30ish Eastern in the AM. Then there will be lobbies sprinkled throughout gunchannels.com. So if you're not a part of it, come on down. Then prime time starts 8 Eastern with Clover Tech and the Next Generation. That's when he does the youth shooting sports chat. And then 9 p.m., Never Enough Ammo is going to be having his Guns and Geek podcast. And then end your night right with a tall glass of Daily Gun Show.
I think we forgot Rick doing his accessibility carry or handicap carry or some kind of show like that.
No, I didn't forget nothing. He didn't put it in the schedule. But do you know what time it is? Since I'm over here, I could just toss it in there real quick.
Starting it this week or not, but I know he's slotting it for a Wednesday show.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll figure it out, and I'll throw it in there.
It's also not in the schedule, but I'm gonna start doing the AK-47 Guru podcast on Wednesdays before this show. So probably start, I guess, tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Oh, sweet.
Rick had a really good, Big Gunner had a really good chat tonight. He had some really good guests and stuff, so I want to shout out to him.
Right on.
Cool.
He just got a 3D printer and it looked pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Cool. All right. Let's wrap this up because I got to do the quote and then go let my dog in because he's complaining and it's like only minus 20. Stupid desert dog. Can't handle the cold. But anyway, so let's wrap it up. Our quote today is by Winston Churchill, and it's a simple one. But before that, I want to thank everybody for watching and listening, and say please like, share, subscribe. If you can, support us on Patreon. That'd be really cool. Patreon accounts in the show description. But anyway, Winston Churchill. And yeah, he's one of my favorite people, by the way. I don't care what anybody else thinks of him. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Isn't that true? So let's keep that in mind and get on with our lives, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Buy things from gearwebsites.com.